Cricket Love Stories with me, Neel Khagram. Today, we're joined by Snehal Pradhan. How's things going out in India?
Going good. Probably not as well as we would hope, but sport is slowly starting to come back. We're able to get out and get some fresh air. Playgrounds are opening up again, so that's good news.
That's good to hear. So you are a former Indian women's cricket international. You're also a cricket coach and YouTube sensation as well. But before we kind of get into that, should we just talk a little bit about your journey, how it all started? You were born in Pune. Talk us through how you got into the sport.
Well, I'm pretty lucky, and I think this is a big factor, especially in a country like India, that I had parents who 100% supported the fact that I was interested in something as offbeat as cricket. As a kid, I just played all sports, but cricket was special. And I mean, my parents never held me back. And one of my beliefs is that if you don't have a family like that who supports you, you probably, as a girl in India, won't get onto the field. So I was lucky in that regard. I mean, I come from an open-minded, progressive family, and they just backed the interest that I have. So at the age of 16, I was already playing for my state senior side, worked my way up through the cricketing pathway. After a point where I had finished my graduation and was considering whether to continue playing cricket at all, because at that time, this is pre-BCCI, when Women's Cricket Association of India ran the game, no money whatsoever to play domestic cricket. So I thought, how long can I keep subsisting off, my parents basically paying for my game? Luckily, at that time, I got a sports quota job with Western Railway, which allowed me to play cricket semi-professionally. So work in the office half day, get the rest of the day off, and get time off for tournaments. So I became a semi-pro, moved to Mumbai for that. And 1 year later, I got selected for the Indian team, was able to fulfill a lifelong dream that I had of sharing the new ball for India with Jhulan Goswami. And that was the inspiration, which I just saw her on TV the first time she played for India. And I thought, I want to do this. I want to open the bowling with her.
Talk us through the women's game at the grassroots level in India. When you actually were coming through, and also to the present day currently, are there opportunities? You talk about mindset there in terms of other people. Are they more open for women and young girls getting into the game and going through to the highest level?
Things have changed massively since 2017, the World Cup, of course, which was in England, India coming so close in their final against the hosts. But going back, rewinding to the start of my career, I have a good vantage point because I started when women's cricket wasn't run by the BCCI, so not professional at all. We were playing on terrible surfaces, grounds without a single blade of grass. We were traveling across the country, often unreserved, so terrible conditions for travel and sometimes stay. Cut to 2006, where the BCCI takes over the running of women's cricket, and a lot of things improve. A few things go back in terms of women's cricket just being the sole focus rather than now under the BCCI maybe being secondary. But since then, things have changed because now domestic state players are paid to play. They do receive small amounts, not huge amounts, but they do receive some kind of monetary fees, which I know hasn't happened for domestic county cricket for women in England yet. There's also development in terms of the visibility. Like I said, 2017, the women's team got to that final, and suddenly an entire nation woke up to the fact that there is women's cricket in India, and it is an exciting spectacle. And since then, things have absolutely changed. It's just been an upward graph. India reaching the finals of 2 of the last 3 world events, the final of the T20 World Cup this March as well. So at the grassroots, there are still a number of difficulties. The mindset that you were talking about is still whether, girls have a future playing cricket, but the visibility provided by the success of the Indian team is changing things on the grassroots level. There are more girls coming into academies now.
And who was your hero growing up? Who did you look up to?
I gave that one away already. Jhulan Goswami. She was. I was very lucky that I got to share not just the new ball with her. I played under her captaincy. Again, it's probably that visibility thing. The fact that that first series she played was on TV, and I saw her, tall, just as tall as me, or just an inch taller than me, and knocking down the stumps of the English players. And I thought, this is who I want to be, and I could see a very clear role model of someone who looks like me, and that's why I always connected with her, and her personality as well. I mean, I've gotten to know her over the years, and the fact that she's the kind of person who instinctively puts an arm around your shoulder and tries to bring out the best in you. She's very spur of the moment as well, so she'll tell you what she thinks, but you know that she's got your best interests, and she's a thorough team player. She's just the kind of role model that you want, and I've been very lucky to get to know her personally as well.
Yeah, so 2005, you're capped under 21 level. 2008, full India debut. Overall in your career, I think it was like 6 one-dayers and 4 T20s. What was the one game that actually stood out for you in your mind as the best?
I'm probably going to pick a domestic game, because this is a domestic game where I'm playing for my state of Maharashtra against the national champions, and this is the team that wins year in, year out, the Indian Railways, in a T20 game where we come back from a position where it looks like we're out. We tie the game. Smriti Mandhana, we played for the same team, so she goes out to bat and puts up a good start in the super over, and then I come out and close out the super over, bowling to the likes of Harmanpreet Kaur, Mithali Raj. That was one of my career highlights. I mean, the fact that beating Railways is probably akin to a team like the West Indies right now in women's cricket beating Australia. They've just been so dominant, Railways, on the domestic circuit, because they're the only company that provides jobs for women's cricketers. So all the talent goes there. And then for our team to come and beat them in that dramatic fashion, that is probably the moment that stands out for me in my career.
And then in terms of coping with slight adversity, I know there's a little stuff about your action in 2011. Talk us through it in terms of your mental strength and character. Obviously, you came through it. Your action was then cleared. But talk us through that incident and how that impacted your career.
Yeah, it probably had a big impact on my international career. I didn't play internationals after that because the timing was such that a few of the pace bowlers of the previous generation were just going out. So I had that opportunity. Fortunately, it was that time where I was just a little between coaches and didn't have the right guidance and didn't have the right know-how, even technically, mentally. And therefore that showed up in the suspect action incident, where after analysis they said that it's probably an average of 2 degrees over the limit. So these are the fine margins that somehow affect our lives. But I was very proud of the fact that coming back from that, it was something that took a long time. I challenged myself to do it within 6 months, and 6 months later, I was able to make the corrections, get cleared, make the corrections in terms of my training, in terms of my physical fitness as well. I was very proud that the next few years of my career, especially at the domestic level, were pretty successful. They were the fittest that I had ever been. And to come back from that and get into the Indian setup. I didn't make it back into the Indian team, but I was in and around the India A setup, playing for President's 11 against touring sides consistently. And that is something I'm pretty proud of.
And then post-playing, in terms of your coaching, is that something you just always had an ambition to get into? Talk us through the next steps that you took in your career.
Well, it's funny that initially I didn't want to get into coaching because I thought, let me do something different, probably also something that's necessary in terms of where the women's game was. And I had been writing a few blogs on my own blog while I was playing. That blog was then liked by a cricket website, which picked it up. And they said, why don't you write a few blogs for us? So while I was playing, I was writing a few blogs for them on and off. So when I decided to step back pretty early, retired at the age of 28 because I had to give time for a second career. That's the thing with non or semi-professional sport, is that you're always going to have to take that call at some point as to what you want to do for the rest of your life and how much time you need to give to that. And then I reached out to a few media outlets with the intention to increase the coverage that women's cricket was getting. Remember, this is pre 2017. So writing about women's cricket wasn't sexy. It wasn't normal. It wasn't something that a lot of mainstream outlets were doing. And I wanted to use my profile as an India cricketer to change that. And since then, it evolved. I started sharing coaching tips on YouTube, thinking, if I go to an academy, I'll probably be able to teach 30 kids. But if I'm on YouTube, I might be able to reach 30,000. That has then progressed to the stage where YouTube has developed very strongly, and I've now launched an online cricket academy where I work with kids all across the country. I mean, there are kids in corners of India and places that I've never even heard of who are now able to get guidance from me online through video calls because of this internet revolution that's allowed us to do this. And this is something that started up in the last 6 months in the lockdowns, when I thought, how can I reach places where I haven't been? How can I take those geographical barriers out of coaching? So it's been the roundabout way to coaching and very unconventional way to coaching. But yeah, that's how it's gone.
Yeah, you mentioned your YouTube channel there. It is amazing. I'll obviously put the link in the description below. So currently, I think it's over 230,000 subs and ever growing. So guys, whoever's watching this, please do check it out. So Snehal, just to end on, if there's one tip that you have to give a youngster growing up, wanted to get in the game and came to you and said, what would it be? What would that golden piece of advice be that you'd give?
I would say that don't change your natural style. I mean, we have too many talents lost out to the country because some coach at some point of their career asked them to change something in their action, no matter how well intentioned or their technique. And then it just doesn't feel right because it's not who you are or the natural style that you have. I mean, if we had those kind of coaching given to the likes of, for example, Jasprit Bumrah. Just imagine what a loss that would be for Indian cricket, just because he looks different from everyone else. And the second thing, especially for Indian listeners, is that cricket isn't everything, because the nature is just that there are so many people playing the game. It's so competitive, especially in men's cricket, that you may not reach where you are. So cricket isn't everything, but you can stay connected to the game, make a career out of it in other ways, as umpiring, scoring, working in the media. So even if your dreams don't work out, stay in the game, but just remember that cricket isn't everything.
Amazing. Great piece of advice you just gave there, and really great to just learn a bit more about your career. So thank you very much.
Pleasure being here.
So Neel Khagram, Cricket Love Stories, Snehal Pradhan. Thank you.